Hey, this is John. Welcome back to Modern Old School Developer. In this episode, we're going to work on the last of our integration tests for the main page, the movie data form test. Let's start by seeing if we can update all of these fields and then change a movie. So let's go back to VS Code. Inside MainPage.test, let's make a new test section. So test movie data form changes. We'll make a new function for that. And our first test will be successfully changes return of the king into desolation of Smaug. So we're going to change a Lord of the Rings movie into a Hobbit movie. I've already made a fake Hobbit movie in our mock service worker. It's pretty much the same as our Lord of the Rings movie definition, just with the proper fields for our new Hobbit movie. So the first thing we're going to want to do is get all of our field components so we can update them and use them. So we can use our get by role again with button, text box, and combo box. So let's work on that. Let's say our name field is going to be screen.getByRole, and all of these elements are on the page from the get-go, so we don't need to await them. And we're going to get a text box, and the name is going to be name for this first one. The other one is our series number, so let's just change the name over here to be series number. Then we need to get our studio selector, screen get by role. It's a combo box, and the name is studio. And finally, we have our series selector. So we'll just change that. There we go. There is all of those things. If we go back up here to our describe section, we can get our update button as well. And there we go. Now we have that. So what's the first thing we need to do? Well, if a user actually was going to change this, they would select the text in this field, delete it, and then type new text. So let's do that as well. We can select and delete the text with the clear function of the user. So user.clear, not like that, clear, and the name field. And then we can type in there with user.type. So we're going to type in the name field, and the text is going to be our Hobbit movie, and I want to get the name. And Typescript is telling me that the name could be undefined, but because we have mock data here, we know it won't be. So I'll just say, I'll add the bang to tell it it's definitely here. All right, now I want to expect that the value of the name field equals our name that we just typed in there. So let's say I expect that name field dot value, and to get a value, we'll have to specify these properties. So this should be an HTML input element like that. Let's add that to series number. And we also need to make this an HTML select element, so we'll have the same value for studio and series selector. And now that we have that, we should have the actual value property. So I expect this to be hobbitmovie.name. But let's add some gibberish first to make sure that our test will actually pass. So we'll just add some garbage in here. And that way we'll have a failing test that we can remove, and we'll have a passing test. So we'll comment that out for now. All right, we're going to do the same thing for the series number. So let's copy this. And let's see here. Let's change name field to be series number field. Rather than Hobbit movie name, I want the series number, but we need to convert that from a number to a text box because Hobbit movie.series number is going to be a number, or it's going to be null. It won't be null, but it will be a number. We need to be a string to compare this. So let's say const series number equals this. I know it will be there, and we'll say toString. All right, so that's what I want to have in there. So we're going to copy this right here, and same thing for this. We can leave the gibberish in here for now. All right, next I want to check on the studio selector and series selector. So we can do the select options with studio selector, and the option that I want is Hobbit movie dot, what is this? It's going to be studio.id. But studio could be null, and also I need a text field, or string field, not a number field. So that's not going to work out. So let's make const studio ID equals hobbitmovie.studio. You definitely will exist. I'll get the ID property, and we'll convert that to a string. So let's just change that to studio ID. So now we have that, and we can expect that studio selector dot value has the value of studio ID. But again, I will add some gibberish here for now to make our test fail at first, and then we'll have our green passing test when I take the gibberish away. So there we go, we get that. And let's copy this down for our series ID as well. So we'll change this to be series ID. We'll change this to be series. And I think that should be everything for series. So there are our first 4 tests. Let's go see if they work. Obviously, they do not, but good news, we received the desolation of smog. That's the actual thing we wanted in there. So let's go ahead and fix that. So we can just turn off our test, put our correct tests in here, and make sure they all work. All right, I tested all of our tests, and they all do work now. There is a warning up here about formic state changes, but that will go away once we wait for formic to update before we exit the test. So that's not actually a problem right now. So let's keep working on this. What is the next thing we would want to do? Well, we want to use the update button. We want to click on that. So we could do user.click on our update button. That's going to cause us problems because once we do this, we don't have any mock service worker handlers for this put function. So let's go make one of those first. Looking at our documentation, we can see we need to supply this kind of schema as our request body, the ID of the movie, and we'll get back the updated movie information. So let's work on making an endpoint. I'm going to start by copying this endpoint over here. That won't work yet, but it should be a good start for us. So let's see here. First of all, this is going to be a put endpoint. Now it's saying we have a default request body, but that's not actually true. We need to supply the proper request body type. Let's go find that type. I think I should have it in here already. All right, we have this movie update type in API, so let's use that. So this should be a movie update type. And then it's going to return not an exception, but a movie type. All right, so that should be all good. So our backend is now going to be not movie actor, but actually going to be movies/ID. All right, we're not going to return a bad status, we're going to return a good status for here. So we need to make this match a movie type. Movie type is just going to be our Hobbit movie. There we go. Once we have that, everything should be okay. So there is our new put update endpoint. But we're missing one more thing. We also need a get endpoint. So let's see here. We need to put another parenthesis here. When we go to refetch our new movie list, we'll need to get those updated because when I update this movie, it's going to refetch our movie and our movie list. So that's what should be going on next. So let's make 2 more endpoints. Let's go to our server. And where is this? So here is where it gets a movie. Let's just copy this over here. So rather than Lord of the Rings movie, we're going to return Hobbit movie. All right, and finally we need to return all of the movies. That's just going to be just this one movie, but where is that at? Right here, I think. There we go, we get that, and we return movies. Put that first there. Now, this is an array of movie file types, okay. and it's got movies over here. What is movies saying right now? Movies is just this. So we should be able to return something that looks very much like this, but with our new movie. So let's say this, but not like that at all. We'll just use this array, and the file name is going to be hobbitmovie.filename. Get rid of the semicolon, and I think all of that should be good. So our first thing that will happen is we will run the put endpoint that will update our movie with our new information. We will then try to fetch both our movie to update the form and our movies to update the movie list. All right, that should be all the endpoints we need to mock. So what do we need to look for next? We need to find the status message for our movie. It'll be something like this: successfully updated movie, whatever. So let's see if we can find that. We can await that text. So let's say const status text equals await screen find by text. And our text is going to be this. Now, obviously, we're not going to have that text field right now, but we should be able to see what it is and then go find that out. And we should be getting this from the mock endpoint. So let's see what our test thinks is going on. All right, one failed. That's okay. That's what I expected to see. And it failed because we don't have that element, obviously. So what do we have in here? Successfully updated movie, The Desolation of Smaug. So hopefully we have that in there. So let's go make that text instead. So const message is going to be successfully updated movie, and it should be hobbitmovie.name. So let's change that to be message, and then we should get a success on this. And you can see we are now passing. And we no longer get those format warnings because we are waiting on things to happen. So that looks pretty good. I might also want to check to make sure that our movie list has a movie with the right file name. So let's do that as well. We should be able to find that by looking for an option with the right name. So let's say I want to await screen find by role. The role is an option, and the name is going to be the file name. We'll put some gibberish in there now, but I'll have this test in here with the correct name, which is going to be, what is that called? hobbitmovie.filename? Yeah, that should be the correct text. So let's see if this test fails, and then the next one succeeds. All right. This test failed. That makes sense. There is nothing on here with this garbage text. But is there something on here with the correct text? There we go. We have that. Okay. We can be relatively confident that our main page is working, as is our movie data form. The last thing to check is our remove button. Does it actually remove a movie from the list? Does it disable our form elements? Does it reset them back to blank? Let's find out. We'll go into our main page test, and let's make another test under here. So it successfully removes return of the king. And let's give that an async function. The first thing we want to do is find the remove button. So let's go scroll up here and grab that real quick. Get that from here. And the first thing I want to do is actually click the button. Let's do a user click on the remove button. So what happens when I click the remove button? Well, if we go back to our page, we can see that when I remove that, it does this window.confirm. That might be a problem. Remember, we're rendering this component. We're not rendering an entire browser window. Does window confirm even do anything in testing library? I'm not sure. That's okay though. We don't need to worry about that. We can simply mock the functionality. I don't care this component came up. I care that it was called and that we got the OK value back from the user. So to do that, let's use jest. So let's go over here and let's make a new object. Const confirm spy equals just spy on. We're going to spy on the window object on the confirm function. And in my confirm spy, I want to mock the implementation. We'll use a fake jest function that returns true every time. So whenever we call window confirm, rather than doing whatever it would do normally, it's just going to return true, as if the user had clicked OK. And then this probably isn't that important, but let's clean up after ourselves and say confirm spy dot mock restore. This will restore our default window confirm behavior should we need that for some other test. All right, so how do we make sure that our confirm spy was actually called? Well, let's run an expectation. Let's expect that window.confirm to be called. And just for a test, let's go ahead and put a not in front of that. So this test will fail. This one should succeed. So let's say that it worked and move on for now. What's going to happen next? We're going to call some of our API endpoints. We're going to call the delete movies ID endpoint. And then once that's done, we're going to refetch our movie list. You can see that if we go back to our terminal, go to our Python, and let's go back and remove Catwoman. You can see we deleted movies and we get the movies again. So those are the two endpoints we're going to need to mock for this. So let's do that. Let's scroll up to, let's see here, not that far, right in here I'm thinking. Let's grab all of these test endpoints right here and copy them down here. We're going to need movies, but we don't need any movies in our list anymore. We can just delete that, make that an empty array. These two endpoints don't need to be in here at all, so we'll add rest.delete. Now we're going to have a default request body as our request body, path params as default, and we'll have a message type as the response, although we don't actually need the response. It's going to be a backend wrapping /movies / the ID parameter, which again we don't care about. Request, response, and context. And we're going to return a response with this context delay and context JSON with a message saying return of the king deleted. Again, message doesn't matter so much as the return type of 200. All right, there we go. We have mocked our endpoints. That should be good. So what are we expecting to see in our list? I'm expecting that our movie that was here will no longer be here. So let's wait that element to be removed. So let's do an await, wait for element to be removed. We'll give it a function. I'm going to look for the element by role. It's an option, and the name of the option should be the file name of our movie. So that should be Lord of the Rings movie.filename, because that's what I should be seeing over here. If I go inspect that over here, you'll see, yes, get by role option, the name is the file name. Okay, that should be good. I'm waiting for that. Now, what else is going to happen over here? Well, we're going to have our form disabled. So why don't we check a few things like that? Like, let's check that our remove button got disabled. Again, we can use an await, wait for. But it's not wait for element to be removed anymore. It's simply await, wait for, and I need to give it a function. I am waiting for the expectation that our update button, our remove button to be disabled. All right, there we go. That should be good. So I'm hoping that all looks good now. Let's hit save and let's see what our test suite says. All right, there we go. So our first error is that we expected 0 calls, we got 1. Well, that's perfect because that's what I actually wanted. That means our fake test is inaccurate, and that should mean our good test is accurate. So we'll go ahead and save that and try again. And there we go. All of our tests are passing. So I think this is all working. Let's make a couple more tests real quick. Why don't we test that our name field is blank and that it is disabled. Let's go grab the name field and test that. You can grab that right up here. And we'll put that right over here. And let's just do another assertion. Await, wait for. The function is going to be the expectation that our name field dot value to be blank. And there we go. That should be good. And if I wanted to, I could put some gibberish in there to make sure that the test fails. And there we go. Our expectation did fail because obviously we're not going to have a name field with that value anymore. But if I put it back to being blank, our test should succeed again. And we can also expect this to be disabled. So we can have more than one condition on our wait for. I can wait for all of these expectations to be true. So if I put this over here and this down here, I could expect that our name field to be disabled. Or rather, I could say enabled, but it will already be that by default. So we'll make it disabled for now. There we go. We'll wait for that and see what happens. And there we go. All of our tests are passing. So that's basically what I will add between episodes. I will check that all of our fields are disabled and that everything is back to being blank. But that's the basic pattern for our last test with remove. All right. I think that's a good wrapping up point for today's episode. Hope that you learned something about jest or function mocking or testing of some kind. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.